Racing takes place on Tuesday over at the Vaal. It is the 27th of June 2023, and we're just under a week away from the Hollywoodbets Durban July, and we look forward to the cracking 12-race program that is on offer at Hollywoodbets Greyville come Saturday, the 1st of July. And I'm joined by Alistair Cohen on the line. Alistair, how are you doing? And obviously, how's the build-up heading in towards Africa's greatest race day for you?
Hello, Raheel. Hello to all the viewers. Yeah, it's lovely to be down in Durban. Drove down on Sunday, so I'm really looking forward to the week. It's going to be a busy week. I know that obviously the last few years we've dealt with COVID regulations, and it felt like July fever was a little bit flat. Obviously, everything opened up. I think the first event that people were allowed to go to last year was the Hollywoodbets Durban July, but I think that was sort of almost quite sudden for a lot of people to work things out. I think the fact now that we've had a year to sort of come back to normal, and also there's a KZN-based horse at the top of the boards. It's unbelievable to be down in Durban. July fever is bitten. I think it's bitten everybody. I'm looking forward to being at Hollywoodbets Greyville on Saturday, where there'll be a full house, and seeing who will be written down into the annals of Hollywoodbets Durban July history for the 127th running.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of hype around the Hollywoodbets Durban July this year, and as you heard from Alistair, it's expected to be a full house. So if you haven't got your tickets yet for the Hollywoodbets Durban July, I suggest you do so and make your way to the course on Saturday. But on Tuesday, racing over at the Vaal, race number 1 commences at 12:15. It is a 9-race program. That means the bipod begins in the second race, PA race number 3, and the pick 6 in race number 4. Now in race number 1, which is juvenile plate for the fillies over 1,200 meters, this event here, we've got Call Me When You Need Me, who, Alice, if I'm going to be honest, I think that she sets a standard. I know this horse, Francine, she ran a fair race on debut, and that form line is actually half decent behind Simply Magic. But I just feel that this filly, Call Me When You Need Me, after last start in open company, Keegan DeMello aboard once again, I think Stuart Pettigrew may have found the right type of race for this filly to notch up win number 2.
Remember 2 weeks ago, absolutely nothing won on the outside of the track at the Vaal, and that was the first time that Call Me When You Need Me actually showed sort of a propensity to being able to go 1,200 meters, so no surprise to see her stepping up. I thought that was a race for her to win, but just the outside of the track and the way that the false rail was configured played against number 1, Call Me When You Need Me. She was stuck towards the outside. There was no point going towards the inside because there was nothing to aim at. And when everything broke away, she was just left exposed and was left to do the chasing behind the evergreen rising 9-year-old Samoa. No disgrace running behind Samoa at the end, because when you think about what she's achieved, she'll achieve a lot more than even good horses who are going to win group races. I think 9 wins or 8 wins, and just the way that she's been kept on the boil. Anyway, we digress. Number 1, Call Me When You Need Me, looks to be the one to beat. If 1,200 meters doesn't catch her out, the way she ran last time suggests that it won't. And I think that she'll take all the beating, even though she has to give weight away. The biggest danger, as you mentioned, is number 4, Francine. I thought she was a little flat on debut. She can only improve. She ran behind Simply Magic. She took a long time to win. Francine's probably the type of filly who will need a couple of races, but not impossible that she pops up with a nice run. In fact, she ought to pop up with a nice run here in a field of this nature. The only first timer that jumps off the page is the full sister to William Robinson, number 10, Work of Time. Brett Crawford has been in Durban for the last couple of weeks, obviously working with Winchester Mansion and Time Flies especially, but obviously all the others. The word at the front of the computer form says Work of Time is working well, but may need the run. I don't know how badly she'll need the run to be effective in race number 1, though. So put her, if there is money for number 10, Work of Time, make sure that she's into your trifectas and quartets.
Yeah, that's horse number 10 from the Brett Crawford yard. But Call Me When You Need Me, the one to beat in race number 1. Next up will be race number 2, which is a juvenile plate over 1,200 meters, and it is the start of the bipod at 10-1. Now, when we have a look at the fixed odds betting market, it is George Handel at 28-10, Just Be Lekker at 3-1, 9-2 about Policy of Truth, Captain Warra 11-2, and Better Bar those. Now, let's start with the Just Be Lekker, because it's sort of crazy to believe that in a 9-horse field with 2-year-olds, a filly that is unraced drifted out from 25-1 out to 100-1 when there was actually some confidence around her, and she came through to win quite a nice race. Lady Elliott winning to frank the form during the week. So yeah, it's quite crazy that this filly actually went out to 100-1, Alistair, but she won quite a nice race, and there's certainly plenty to look forward to from her now that she has a run straight out we'll call it straight out the maidens.
Yeah, so this was always the plan after her win, to give her another run before she heads down to Hollywoodbets Greyville on Gold Cup Day for the 1200 meter. I think it's a Group 2 or Group 3 race for number one, Just Be Lekker. As you mentioned, I can't believe that she drifted on debut. The fact that I was on this very show and tipped her to be a big runner. Look, the win was not. I wouldn't describe it as a pleasant surprise, because it's not Candice's style to ready them up first time. So it wasn't a total unexpected shock. But I mean, everyone would have been happy with a second or third and kick on from there. But anyway, she comes in 1 from 1. She stepped up in her work. She's doing very nicely, and I believe that she'll be bang there again. The horses that she's got to watch out for, clearly number 4, George Handel, and 7, Policy of Truth. George Handel worries me a little bit. I think that he sort of took a step backwards in his last start when running behind Hawkbull, because in his anti-penultimate start, I beg your pardon, he took a step forward last time out of that run behind Hawkbull, because his anti-penultimate start, he finished about 1 3/4 lengths behind Hawkbull, who ran second to Mount Pilatus. Last time he closed that deficit to around half a length. He drops back to 1,200 metres. That I don't know is going to work or not. Being a son of Oratorio out of a King of King mares, considering that his best run was over 1,400 metres. So that leaves a bit of a question mark with number 4, George Handel. This horse, number 7, Policy of Truth, I think has to be a big chance. The horse who ran second to Raven Black, Dreamland, came out and won. And the horse who ran 4th or 5th, Scampson, came out and ran a place. So that form is looking fair. Policy of Truth has got a lot of scope to improve. What worries me, though, is that Dreamland won a week made in Hollywoodbets Scottsville nearly 2 weeks ago, and also Raven Black wasn't expected to win in his last start, coming back from nearly a year off the track. So even though it looks good, I don't know if that debut run flatters Policy of Truth, but he's got a lot of scope to improve. So in a complex opening leg of the bar pot, I'll make number 1, Just Be Lekker, the horse they all need to beat, but I have a lot of respect for number 7, Policy of Truth, to be a big danger.
Yeah, 1 and 7, and then possibly you want to include number 4, George Handel. And as you heard from Al said, I'll step down in trip, step back to 1,200 meters. Whether that's going to suit him or not, only the race will tell. But it's definitely he's definitely a horse that I think is worth a mention in the second race on the card. Next up, race number 3, which will be the start of the place accumulator over 1,000 meters, and this is a maiden plate. You need to have those PA bets on by 1. Your market has got King Rahul at 7-2, Super Awesome at 9-2, it's Magic Prince 9-2 as well, and then Tyson the Brave at 11-2 along with Ziyasha, and then at 6-1 and Better Bar those. Now, Alistair, what's your thoughts on this race? This horse King Rahul here, he showed huge improvement in that penultimate start, and it was sort of improvement out of nowhere. And then last time out, he ran second behind Brosnan. Whether that form line is going to hold up, that's got to be a question mark. And he could probably be he could be a bit vulnerable to a few others in this race, but he seems to be a horse that's finding his feet nicely now, and I think he could run well here.
It's a tricky opening leg of the place accumulator, this race here. King Rahul clearly just loved the drop back to 1,000 metres. Experimented over 1,200 and over 1,160 where he showed pace and fell in a hole. So dare I say he's fairly one-dimensional, but one-dimensional 1,000-metre horses can end up winning a few races, especially if you come up with the right rating, and that's what King Rahul is likely to do when he eventually wins. I think number 1, Magic Prince, is probably the horse they all need to beat. Look, he's grizzled, he's been around the block, he's had his chances. This another very good opening for him to potentially win. Mark de Kock's having his winners, as is Cabello Matsunyane, who goes into Hollywoodbets Durban July week with 99 winners for the season, so he'll be hoping to raise his ton before he gets on board Winchester Mansion. Maybe it's just meant to be that his 100th will be Winchester Mansion. I think you're right in your observation with the run behind Brosnan. I think Dr. Faustus will be a lot more progressive than Brosnan. Dr. Faustus is trained by Johan Janse van Vuren. Brosnan was trained by Johan Janse van Vuren, and I know that if you ask Johan which horse was better, he wouldn't hesitate in telling you Dr. Faustus. So that'll be my line of thinking, with number 1, Magic Prince being the horse to beat. I also think coming back to 1,000 metres for the first time in his career could be the office for him to finally do duty and take the win. King Rahul should finish in front of Super Awesome on their run to Stormy Choice. There was about a length between them, so I'd anticipate King Rahul will hold the advantage over number 10 Super Awesome. And to be honest, I think the race stops there. The scratching on number 13 Vivacious Vicky potentially makes it a little easier. 12 Tyson the Brave has also got a little bit to do to turn the form of King Rahul and Super Awesome, despite the fact he's got a little bit more scope to improve. So maybe he can get a blow at number 12 Tyson the Brave. But I think it's a good opportunity for number 1 Magic Prince. In my place accumulator, which is not my suggested bet, I'd go with 1 and 9, and I'd have a lot of time for number 12 Tyson the Brave getting somewhere in the frame as well.
I think maybe even we could throw in horse number 14, Ziasho, because his debut run was actually a half-decent performance behind Guy Gibson, only beaten 2 lengths on that occasion. And then last time out, when put in a feature, and he just didn't seem to enjoy the conditions, he was tailed off 36 lengths behind Lucky Lad. But I think maybe we can ignore that performance. He's been given us a rest, and he returned. So if he's ready and if he's ready to run a nice race, then he could be one that we include into the mix as well. But yeah, as you heard from Alistair, maybe Magic Prince, it could be his day to shine now that he drops back to the 1,000 meter trip, which he tries for the very first time. Race number 4, the start off the pick 6, 1,600 meters the trip. This is the maiden plate. And yeah, in this event, we've got Holocene, who was, I'll say, a bit disappointing and maybe a bit costly last time out, because he seemed to hit the front at the right time, and he had all of the other horses behind him off the bit, and they seemed to be struggling. I mean, I'm a Man went in for a run, then he switched back to the center, then he went out for a run, and how he beat Holocene on that occasion, it's beyond me. But yeah, Holocene is still a maiden, and I'm not sure. Is he a good thing in this lineup here with Keegan DeMello aboard?
Look, I think what we need to isolate about Holocene's last run, Raheel, is that he actually found with about 200 meters left to run, and then miraculously, I'm a Man managed to go and fetch Holocene. That's the way I read it. So I think Holocene is just a winner in waiting. I've just done a little bit of due diligence with regard to this meeting. Just take note where the outside rail is situated. It's situated at 0 on the outside. So if recent meetings are to be taken down the straight, you'll want a high number draw, and Holocene's got a reasonably high number draw to his name. I think that he'll take all the beating. I think with his improved runs that he's shown since his debut, when going over 1450 and a mile, have been good runs. He's found some useful horses that I think are going to develop as time goes on. And I think this is now, to use the cliche, the next cab off the rank, number 9 Holocene. So if he can handle going down the Vaal mile straight, I know that all of these are 2-year-olds, or not all of them are 2-year-olds, but the horses that look to have legitimate chances are 2-year-olds that haven't been down the Vaal mile straight before. I think Holocene just needs to handle it to be the horse they all need to be. I think Mutarazi is going to be a big chance, Raheel. I actually think that he's going to be a huge pick 6 inclusion. I'm only going to go the 2 horses here. I'm going to leave out for Shimi Inari, who ran behind Severide on debut. I know that Total Protection was in that race, if I'm not mistaken, and he's obviously hit some pretty high notes since that debut run. But I think number 10 Mutarazi is going to be the value in the race. Craig Zachary takes the ride. His last 2 runs, even though beaten 8.5 lengths behind Give Me Another Chance, have been winners all in and around Mutarazi. And then last time behind Majestic Touch, I'm telling you that was a fair run, because in the next race, Canford Rose is out of that form line, and there has already been a winner out of that Majestic Touch form. So I think number 10 Mutarazi is going to be the value in the race, and I think that he's the biggest danger to number 9 Holocene.
Yeah, I think that could be the right horse in the race, Mutarazi. And yeah, as you mentioned, he's obviously the run behind Give Me Another Chance. Craig Zaki aboard for Alec Laird, and he's also got that high number draw as well. So yeah, numbers 9 and 10 could certainly be enough to see you through leg number 1 of that pick 6. And if it's not, well, then I think you could be in for a real result come the first leg of that pick 6. But 9 and 10 for Alistair, and yeah, Mutarazi, Holocene taken to fight out the finish. Next up will be race number 5, which is another maiden plate, this time for the fillies and mares over 1,600 meters. And your market has got Let's Go Now at 2-1, Canford Rose 22-10, Mika's Bomb 4-1. It's then 8-1 and Better Bar those. Now Canford Rose, Candice Dawson's runner, she's had 2 starts to date, beaten behind Majestic Touch last time out, and we'll obviously see how that form line does work out in the previous race with Mutarazi. But I think this filly, Let's Go Now, she's going to take a huge step forward on a debut run where Gavin Arena just dropped out. He let her run on, and I thought she made some nice headway given how far she was off at the 400. She was beaten 7 lengths. I don't think it's the strongest of form lines, but I think that this filly, now that she's stepping up in trip to 1600 meters and she's had that run under the belt, I think that she's going to go very, very close here.
Absolute two-horse race this Raheel. Let's start with number 7, Canford Rose. Of course, the winner out of that last run was the front line, and everybody's convinced that had the race been over a mile, Canford Rose runs past the front line and makes him sort of look second rate. Not that he is second rate; he's a nice horse, the front line. But the point is, Canford Rose has been looking for a mile plus. It's been a slow, steady build to get her to a mile, but JP van der Merwe got off her last time and said she'll win her next start. And now she's obviously got number 9, Let's Go Now, to worry about. So, like I said, an absolute two-horse race. If she can handle the mile straight, then there's absolutely no reason to be off her. Number 9, Let's Go Now. I think what you also need to remember is that the pace was well and truly on in that run behind Ivy League. Ivy League came from behind Let's Go Now. Sean Terry actually expected more from Let's Go Now. She's a full sister to Hollywoodbets Durban July, except to Bless My Stars. Genetically, there should be something there, and you spot on, there should be something to come from Let's Go Now. The winner out of that form line was Shilpa's Moon, who won a good race just over a week ago at Turfentine. So there's also a lot going with number 9, Let's Go Now. But let's see how she goes from an inside draw compared to Canford Rose drawn towards the middle. I think they'll run 1-2. Mika's Bomb seems to have just lost the plot. She throws in a good run that suggests a win is not too far away. Then the inevitable bad run is around the corner. And Villa Samaya ran a nice race behind My Soulmate last time out. She'll need to confirm that improvement. But I still think number 7 and 9 will have more than enough class for her.
Yeah, 7 and 9, 2 numbers that you can include into that pick 6, and obviously the start of Jackpot 1 as well. Race number 6, which is now a handicap. It's a Fillies and Mares 76 handicap, 1200 meters the distance, and yeah, this race here, it's quite open. There's quite a few horses in with chances, and Samoa is in action once again. She's your favorite at 5-1 after winning her last start to notch up career win number 7, and Gavin Larina gets on extremely well with her. Silver Clock 6-1, Alabama Anna at 7-1, On Cue at 7-1, and then it's 8-1 and Better Bar. Those the 2 horses that I'm going to play around in this event here. I'm going to be with Alabama Anna and On Cue. Obviously, you mentioned earlier you want to have a high number draw. Both of them certainly don't have that, but their course and distance form is what leads me to believe that their next win could be around the corner. It's been a similar type of wait for them between drinks, and I think that they get in there, and they could possibly notch up their 4th and 5th career victory in this event here. I think their last start was quite pleasing, and On Cue would be the narrow top selection for me. But your thoughts on the race?
It's obviously a very tricky race at Raheel, and those were the 2 horses that I was initially drawn towards, but with absolutely no confidence whatsoever. I want to start with number 3, Alabama Anna, because I don't make her a good thing, but she's been on my radar for a while. The rating has come down from a once high mark of 91. She's remained a 75 after her last run, but as you mentioned, coming back to 1,200 meters, the distance that she's won twice over could be key. And there was another reason that I like number 3, Alabama Anna, is that last time when I was at the Vaal, when she ran and I presented, she looked the part, and I actually spoke to Craig Zaki sort of walking past us, and I said, what do you think? He said, she's going to win races this winter. I'm just a little bit worried about the distance. So that's exactly what worked out with number 3, Alabama Anna. Now she's just drawn towards the inside. That has got to be a big disclaimer. 4 On Cue was another horse that I really like. Look, it's hard to eliminate anything in this race. So I think the value in this race, when I say value, I use that term loosely. I would like to have found a horse at a bigger price than number 5. There she goes. Over 1,000 meters last time, she got squeezed at the start. She was left on the back foot, and she did her best work late behind Clean Living. I think she'll stay ahead of all those horses that she beats, and I think she'll turn it around with On Cue if the draws play to her advantage towards the outside. She finished in front of Letitia's Angel, blinded by the lights, and Prey Upon a Star. Prey Upon a Star was a horse I liked last time, and I won't be going for her in a hurry. So I think that it might all play into the favour of number 5. There she goes this time around. Another horse that's very much a popular selection will be number 7, Samoa. Even though she's undoubtedly best over 1,000 metres, she still runs her Game Gallant's trademark races over 1,200, so she should be there and thereabouts.
Yeah, Samoa is definitely a horse that you simply cannot leave out and exclude. She's got that high number draw, and she could certainly be the beneficiary of a high number draw come Tuesday. But there she goes, the value in the race for Alistair. The Wayo Marwin and Wesley Marwin teaming up, and this filly is at around 10 to 1 in the market, so she's definitely one that you want to include into those exotic bets. Next up will be race number 7, and race number 7 is set to jump at 1540, 1200 meters a trip. It's an MR 93 handicap. Osenka, your 3 to 1 favorite, along with Captain Dizzy. 9 to 2 about I Am Giant, and then it's 7 to 1 and better bar those. Now Osenka, last time out, he ran a fair race up to a point. He just seemed to tire late on in the day behind Thunderstone, who rattled him very strongly on that occasion. So now that he's going over 1200 again, straight course, he's a horse that you definitely want to include. And then there's this horse number 3, the Mauritian, who's been very inconsistent, but he seems to run nice races out at the Vaal. So I'm willing to give him another chance, and he's at around 10 to 1 in the market. So it could be some decent value in what looks to be an open-looking event.
Raheel, I like a horse here. What price is number 4, Aravadicio?
I will tell you, Aravadicio, 16 to 1.
16 to 1, Aravadicio. Lump on each way on the Son of Flower Alley. It's the first run in a handicap. I've been waiting for him for a while. I was hoping that it would be 1,400 meters and not 1,200 meters, but this is where we are. I think he's needed his last 2 runs after a 2-month layoff. I like the way that he ran behind Perfect Witness last time. He just ran like he needed it a little bit. And I think with the rating coming down from a once 97 now down to a 90, reduced another 3 pounds, I think the fitness is now catching up with the rating. And even though it's a competitive race and he's no good thing, I've been waiting for number 4, Aravadicio, for a long time. His runs to Jimmy Don, Royal Victory. Let's put it like this. He's actually found some of the best 3-year-olds in Joburg along the way. I think that this is a nice opening for him, and I think that he'll be in the first 3. As mentioned, though, he's no good thing. Number 1, Ozenker, has well and truly turned the corner on the half belt. 4 runs in Joburg, 3 wins and a third to Thunderstone last time. Also remember that Thunderstone represents Aravadicio. They finished next to each other in that run to Perfect Witness. So that's even more value to number 4, Aravadicio, running nicely in this race. That Ozenker was 1.3 lengths behind Thunderstone. Aravadicio was pretty much next to Thunderstone. And I think with the weight turnaround, I think Aravadicio is even more value now that I'm talking about it. I Am Giant's held in high regard. If he doesn't need the run, he should be bang there as well. And then my other inclusion is number 8, Captain Dizzy. You're a hostage to fortune with Captain Dizzy. Don't watch him go down to the start. Hopefully he doesn't get scratched. He's a horrible mover, but credit to Baron Burtis. He's done so well with this horse. He's unbeaten on the half-out. He stepped up through the division. He was carded to run. In fact, he turned up at the Vaal a few weeks ago and got scratched to the start. I think that was in the run of the race on the 13th of June, if I'm not mistaken. Captain Dizzy is what he is. He's clearly got something about him, but he's also got a few issues and a few niggles. Close your eyes and hope for the best with him. If he loads into the starting stalls, he's a big player, but he might not even get that far.
That's horse number 8, Captain Dizzy. Is definitely one that you want to include into your bets, but definitely not a horse that, as you heard from Alistair, that you want to watch go down to the start. And Aravadicio, 16 to 1 in the market. That's going to be the value in the race for Alistair. Mike de Kock teaming up with Craig Zaki. And Alistair mentioned each way, horse number 4 in race number 7. Next up, race number 8, which will be the penultimate race on the day. And race number 8 jumps at 10 past 4. Pontiac is your favorite at 18 to 10. Captain Hindsight in New Surroundings, he's at 7 to 2. It's 4 to 1 about Stormy Seas. And then you can get 8 to 1 and better bar those. Now, this is an MR82 handicap over 1,200 meters. And it's another race where there's a few horses inward chances. I know that Captain Hindsight has been a horse on your radar for some time, Alistair. now that he's with a new yard, Vaal, straight course, 1,200 meters, you with him or you against him?
If it was 1,400 meters, I'd be all in with number 3, Captain Hansard. Interesting now with a new yard and see if Tony Peter can draw any blood from this stone. It's been 607 days since his last win. You're right. I've been following Captain Hansard forever. I've liked him a lot down, especially down the Vaal Straight. Not sort of pigeonholing him as a horse that can only win down the Vaal Straight, but he is certainly best there. Yeah, I think that he's just about popping. To be fair, I think if he was still with Ashley Fortune, he'd be popping to win. If 1,200 meters isn't a bit on the short side, then he could be the one they all need to beat. Number 2, Twice the Storm, needed his last run behind Captain Dizzy. He was never really in the race. He might need another race or two, but I'd like to be on his side because I still think there's some wins to come from number 2, Twice the Storm. 4, Pontiac was the eye catcher last time behind Captain Dizzy. Strictly on collateral form, Pontiac should finish well in front of Twice the Storm. And if Captain Dizzy runs a race earlier, even if he doesn't win, even if he runs nicely a race earlier, at this lower division, number 4, Pontiac, with improvement to come, could very well start even shorter in the market. I think in my heart of hearts, he's the one they all need to beat. And then number 10, Striker Match. I know it's the filly taking on Boys, but I've been with Striker Match for such a long time. She showed signs of life once or twice on the 6th of April when finishing third to Mover and Shaker, but she just hasn't quite been at that same level. Rating drop, I'm hoping, can bring her around. She's... she probably needs the right luck in running with the way that she goes about her business. But I think number 10, Striker Match, even though she's more of a trifecta quartet inclusion, and I've got her in my suggested bet, which is the jackpot, I think that a win has got to be around the corner for number 10, Striker Match. Keep her on side because I think she's going to pop up at a price one of these days.
Yeah, well, if she does happen to come through, 25-1 is what you're getting about horse number 10, Striker Match, and that will certainly be a proper result in that pick 6 and jackpots there for Striker Match can get the job done in race number 8. I think it's quite a tricky contest. Pontiac, possibly the horse to beat after his last performance straight out the maidens, and then Captain Hindsight, he's a horse that runs for the new yard, and if the 1,200 isn't too sharp for him, he could be another one that can get right into the thick of things. Race number 9, the final race on the day, goes off at 16:40. It's set to be run over 1,700 meters. It's an MR80. It's an MR68 handicap. The average rating is a 65. It's an E-class event, and it's not a particularly strong race. Scratch deer number 9, Della Sword, so that means horse number 17, Rattlebag, comes into the race. Nothing else matters. Last time out, so close to victory. And I think we were all on him last time out. He shortened in the market. He went off as favourite and just found too good on the day. Now, I think he's a horse that, now that he takes a step down in class, even though he's got to carry 60.5 kgs, I think that this is the right type of race for him to get that overdue second career victory. And 1,700 meters could just be the right trip for him. He's having his peak run in the Highveld, and Kabelo Matsanyane, you mentioned he's on 99 heading into Hollywoodbets Durban July week. Well, maybe this could be his 100th winner.
I don't know if we can close our eyes and shoot for the hills with number 1, Nothing Else Matters, because last time was the first time I actually saw him with my own eyes. He's, dare I say, not much to look at. I even told Brett, I said, he's got a very flat back, and he said, I know. But still, he was expected to win last time. They were disappointed he didn't win last time. He had every chance to win last time. I hope he's not a brass. I'm willing to give him another chance because it is his peak run on the Highveld. Just the way that he's built, he should be able to hold top weights. It's just a matter of whether he's got the desire to actually win a race. I almost think that the better the pace, the better it will be for number 1, Nothing Else Matters. I think dropping him in distance could well be a master stroke. Even though it's by 100 meters, they're probably just going to go one click quicker, and that might play into the favor of Nothing Else Matters. And with a long straight to work with, to be fair, if I look past him, I'll be looking for a lot of spooks with this final race. So I think number 1, Nothing Else Matters, ought to win, and if he doesn't, then I'm afraid I will call him a brass. William Iron Arm and We Are the Logans are the interesting runners, being 2-year-olds. We Are the Logans have got half a kilo to play with for a half-length beating on the 16th of May. I think both of them are progressive. I don't know who's going to finish in front of the other, but I think they both bear watching. And then good old Oyster King is always worth a trifecta quartet inclusion. It's been a long time since he last won. 705 days. He's been on the boil for a long time. His rating has come down further. the rising 7-year-old can't be far away from winning, but I think he's got a little bit to do to beat number one, Nothing Else Matters, and these 2-year-olds. In the pick six, I don't know whether I'm convinced about bankering number one, Nothing Else Matters, and including the 2-year-olds and perhaps Oyster King. I'm a bit worried about Gregor McGregor. I think the extra 100 meters might catch him up, just the way that he runs. So I'm keeping a complex-looking race as narrow as I possibly can.
Yeah, it's certainly not a race that it's easy to dissect, because if Nothing Else Matters doesn't pitch up on the day, well then just about anything could win the race. But yeah, you're going to have to take a stance, and you're going to have to be with Nothing Else Matters, or you're going to have to include quite a few horses. But he's definitely the one to beat in the final race on the day. We're going to move along to the suggested bet, and Alistair will take us through his suggested bet, which is set to be Jackpot 1, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, Alistair, take it away.
Yep, so Jackpot 1 starts with race 5 on this 9-race program. Don't get that wrong. 25 to 3 is when it gets underway. So 7 and 9 in the first leg. So those are Canford Rose and Let's Go Now. By field in the second leg, I know it's a big field. It'll be down to 16 with the reserves. Well, with 2 horses guaranteed to come out. My inkling there is for number 5. There she goes, but that is not an easy race. 1, 4, 5 and 8, Ozenkirk, Aravadicho, I Am Giant and Captain Dizzy. I like Aravadicho there. And then the final leg, 2, 3, 4 and 10. Twice the Storm, Captain Hindsight, Pontiac and Striker Match. It's a costly perm, but well, at least we're guaranteed to be 1 leg through. But I really and truly think that jackpot will arrive.
Yeah, that's going to be a nice jackpot, especially if Aravadicho and Striker Match do come through to win. You found us some nice value on the day, Alistair. So yeah, hopefully it can. Both those horses can run some nice races and give the punters a bit of cash there, especially if they manage to run into the top 3. Some nice each way wages on both those horses. Alistair, thanks very much for your time. We look forward to seeing you this week. Obviously, Hollywoodbets Durban July week. The hype is here. The atmosphere is intensifying, and we look forward to come Saturday, the 1st of July.
Cheers, Raheel. Yep, looking forward to it all. It's a magic week. It always is. I'm honoured to be part of it all, and yeah, I'm sure we'll cross paths a few times this week.
Yeah, thanks very much to Alistair Cohen. All the best, guys, with racing on Tuesday over at the Vaal. Hopefully, it treats you well.